Welcome to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin. Today I'm going to be talking about the 3 games that took place on Thursday in the NBA because, well, I can do anything that I feel like doing. It was a great game it was a great night in the NBA. 76ers Bulls was a pretty good game for the most part until the end where it was, what was the final score? 127 to 108. The Lakers and the Trailblazers, LeBron's Lakers debut, and then the Wizards and the Heat was a really, really good game that ended in a buzzer beater with 0.2 seconds left from Kelly Olynyk. I'm going to start with the 76ers and the Bulls. Let's go through the stats here a little bit. Markelle Fultz, to me, I guess I'll start with Markelle Fultz. I don't see it. There's so many things in Fultz's game that they just don't. He's just not a number one pick. He's not a guy that you're gonna. They've already got 2 cornerstone guys in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, but he's not that third guy. And I wonder how long into the season when he continues to. His shot just doesn't look like someone who can shoot the ball. It looks like he's completely got the yips, and it almost, to me, it seems uncorrectable. I know it's obviously early in the season, and they've only played 2 games. But last night, 32 minutes, 12 points, 33% from the field. He took 3 threes. And the one that he made was really cool to see. It's funny it's almost like the fans. They're really supportive. They want him to shoot. If I was the 76ers coach in the press conference, I may say something along the lines of like, "Listen, stop encouraging my players to you don't encourage Ben Simmons to shoot threes." I mean, they do a little bit, but not nearly as much as Fultz. I think that they realize that in order for their team to be successful in the long run, that he starts as their shooting guard, and Ben Simmons starts as point guard, and they share ball handling and setting up the offense responsibilities, maybe 60-40 Ben Simmons. But I think they realize that he's got to be someone that can stretch the floor, because Dario Saric stretches the floor and Covington is a nice 3-and-D guy. And Embiid can shoot threes pretty well, although he was 0 for 3 last night from 3. But 30 points, shot at 64% from the field, and had 12 rebounds. He had a great night, and I just think Fultz isn't the guy. I don't. They're not going to take that next step and beat the 70s and beat the Celtics with Fultz playing the way he plays now. And I just don't see the jump shot thing happening. There was a time where he brought the ball down the floor, and he got an assist. He brought the ball down the floor and made a pretty routine pass to the corner. And the guy hit the three from the corner, but as he's dribbling the ball down the floor, he looks like somebody that like grew too fast, but he's not even like overly big. I don't know how tall Markelle Fultz is. 6'5", 6'6", maybe. He's 6'4", but his feet look too big for his body. Like he's not even really like a good ball handler. I never watched him play in college, so I don't know what the merit or the justification was behind drafting him first overall. There was a kid on my basketball team that was a shooter in high school and then came to college and just couldn't shoot anymore because our coach basically scared the shit out of him and wouldn't let him shoot. I don't know why. Dustin Hall, you know who you are. And towards the end of our careers, his senior year, there were teams, Olivet in particular, was asking instead of who's got number 2, they were saying who isn't guarding number 2, and that's Markelle Fultz. Like they just guard him at the free throw line, and he can't really set the offense up if he's not a threat to score. He just isn't the answer. And I wonder how long it'll take them. I mean, it's obvious, like he's obviously going to play this full season, but I wonder if when next off season comes, I'm not sure what his contract situation is, but I wonder if when this off season comes, they at least start to consider the fact that maybe this guy's not the real deal. Now, obviously, I'm going to be talking about basketball pretty much every day for the next 7 months, but that could change. What else did I see in the 76ers Bulls game? One positive thing about the 76ers is they can run, just because of Embiid's versatility, they can run a lot of stuff with him almost like as the swingman at the top of the key. And as they're swinging the ball from the corner to the wing to the top and then back to the other side, he serves as just like a trail man where he can catch the ball at the top and dribble over and do a dribble handoff and set a screen, or he can stand at the top and they can use him like off a rub screen where they rub around him and he can either hand it off or hopefully get a switch off of that rub screen, or maybe fake the handoff well enough that both guys leave him and commit to where they thought the ball was going, and then he can make an attack towards the basket. There was a couple plays where him and Simmons played high-low game really well off of that rub. So the wing would have the ball and pass the ball to Embiid up top, and then the other wing would come rub off of Embiid and he would keep it, and then Simmons would have his man pinned underneath, and Embiid would throw it over the top to Simmons, and that's and they can do that both ways. Simmons can be the rub guy and the screener but he initiates a lot of the offense and isn't a threat to shoot the three because he's never taken a three in his NBA career in like a season and a couple games, but. Yeah, they've got a lot of options. I just wish that Fultz was more of a threat. I don't see it. Okay, now I will go to the Laker game. It was fucking awesome to see LeBron play basketball again. The first points were very fitting. The steal off an inbound and a wide open dunk. And that whole little sequence there was really cool. He got a wide open dunk, and then the Trailblazers come back the other way, and Lillard has a wide open lane and throws down a really powerful dunk, and then they come back the other way, and LeBron gets another tomahawk dunk, and it was just a really fun sequence. But did I even talk about anyone on the Bulls? I don't think I did. I guess I didn't really see much. Zach LaVine played really well, 30 points, 57% from the field, 28% from three is okay. 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's got the potential to, I don't know if he can lead a team. He may be one of these guys that I call Walmart superstars, where they're super talented. He can jump out of the gym, and his shot continues to get better and better, and he can shoot from a lot of different places on the floor. But I don't know if he's got the size and the gusto to be a bona fide superstar in the league. But he's certainly a fun guy that you can tune into and watch. Jabari Parker, my projected 6th man of the year, had 15 points off the bench, played 25 minutes, shot 43% from the field, made a 3, 5 rebounds. I mean, he was somewhat efficient, I guess, but negative 14 plus or minus. The majority of the Bulls were, Justin Holiday was negative 29. Almost all of the Bulls were negative. Let's see, Phillies plus minus. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, they won by almost 20. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, I'm going back to the Lakers. There was a lot of dunks in the game, which is fun. I mean, that's a majority of the reason why. It's not a majority of the reason why, but that's why the league is so exciting, because of the athleticism. JaVale McGee is developing into a really instrumental role big man in the league. He's one of these guys where you can set a bunch of screens and he's active on the glass, and he can bail you out. You can throw the ball towards the rim and he'll go up and dunk it. I mean, he shot 83% from the field, 5 of 6, 13 points, and that's because almost every shot he takes is a dunk or a dunk attempt or within. I think his one shot was on like a jump shot was on like a busted possession sort of, and he had the ball just above the free throw line and was pivoting around, and as the shot clock came down to like 5 or 6, he just kind of turned and shot it. 8 rebounds. What did LeBron? 26, 56% shooting, 0 for 4 from 3. Didn't really look to take many threes. I think a lot of those threes were kind of like, there's 5 seconds left on the shot clock. I might as well throw this thing up in the air because I'm LeBron. 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 turnovers, so not a good assist to turnover ratio. It was really sloppy, actually. This was kind of a how many turnovers did they have as a team? 15 team turnovers isn't too bad. It's not very good, but they also had 10 steals. Pass that LeBron it was towards the end of the game. He threw it behind his back, and it probably would have been at the feet of Rondo as he cut from the corner towards the basket. So even if Rondo had made the cut that he was expecting him to make, it would have been a pretty bad pass. That pass reminded me of one of my buddies, Stephon Mayhew, who was on my high school basketball team, and he was not a serious person at all. I don't know of any moments of my time around Steph where he would be serious at all. And it was always before our games. We'd be in the auxiliary gym getting shots up while the JV team was playing, and some of us would be like actually working on stuff, and other guys would kind of just be, the guys that didn't play quite as much would be sort of doing their own thing, and everybody kind of had their level of seriousness based on how much they played. And Steph was a guy that he was a good energy guy and a great defender because he was short and rock solid and really fast and like just explosive as hell and could get off the ground really quickly. And he probably, how many minutes are there in a high school game? I think it's 4 8-minute quarters. He probably played 12 to 15 minutes a game. And during our auxiliary warm-ups, he would he'd look serious. He'd look like he was taking it seriously, but he would like purposely shoot the ball, just miss horribly, like way over the backboard, and it would like hit at the bleachers, or like he'd just brick it off the corner of the backboard. And then he would like get us all in like we were running a play, like we were trying to rehearse a play almost. And then he'd just throw a pass kind of the way LeBron threw it, like super hard and just like not in the direction of where anybody was at all. LeBron actually almost like took a couple people's heads off with that pass that were sitting in the first couple rows. What else that is actually like basketball? Well, I guess that stuff was basketball related, but more. I was a little critical. Let it be noted, I'm being critical of LeBron James. I was critical of his defense a little bit last night as well. I think he tends to coast a little bit on defense. There were a couple of defensive possessions where there was one I remember where Lillard came down the lane and LeBron was battling down low, and his guy like sort of dragged him underneath the basket, and he really didn't make much of an effort to step up and contest the shot at all. And as I just kind of watch LeBron James, like when he's off the ball or in transition where he's like behind the play, he does seem to kind of coast a little bit sometimes, but I don't think it's a good excuse. I wish that the other thing that I sometimes have an issue with is the complaining about calls, and a lot of guys do it in the NBA, but I think sometimes the crying face Jordan meme is obviously the more famous one, but there's that one of LeBron. I think it was almost like he made that face. I think he was photobombing when he made that initial face that turned into a meme of him crying that's been used a bunch, but that face just bothers me. But I think he's almost earned the right to kind of coast. Like, LeBron's going to be in the NBA Finals, and if you're his coach and you sort of see him maybe not make a couple 2-3 steps to step into the lane and try to contest a shot that maybe he would have been too late to contest anyways, you're almost okay with him not exerting that little effort there, so that he has that 2 steps of effort in the reserve for in April or in early June, because you trust that he's going to be able to take you there, and he's shown that he's going to take you there. So it's almost like, well, you allow LeBron to do these things because he's got the proven track record. Like, this is how I operate. I don't put as much into it he basically picks his spots. And last night was the very first game, and Nick Stauskas had like 14 or 18 points or something like that in the first half, and kind of like went on fire there for a little bit. And they were 0 for 13 from 3-point range with like 6 some minutes to go in the third quarter, and it was a 1-point game. And I think that is going to be a large portion of the discussion within the next until the Lakers play again, basically, and is their 3-point shooting. I wonder how long it'll take for discussion of when will the Lakers make moves and who will the pieces that they move be in order to get better shooters. As I look at the roster, I see Ingram as a good shooter. You're not going to move LeBron. Javal's not a shooter, but that's not his role. They won't move Javal, I don't think. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a shooter. He's a good enough shooter and has the track record of being a good shooter that I think that they'll keep him. I could see him being thrown into something to get a much better shooter, like a Kyle Korver maybe, or one of these older guys that LeBron has played with and trusts. And the first one that comes to mind is Korver, just because James Jones, who he had in Miami, is no longer. I don't think he's playing anymore. I think he's actually an executive somewhere for some team. But Rondo, not a shooter, but I like him as their point guard. I think he facilitates their offense really well. He had 11 assists last night and 3 turnovers. Actually made a 3. He was 1 for 2 from 3, 13 points. Kyle Kuzma, I think, is a capable enough shooter. Josh Hart is a capable enough shooter. I think that they've got the guys. Last night wasn't a good shooting night for anyone. Josh Hart was 3 for 5. Kuzma was 1 for 7, but I don't know if their numbers were indicative of how they can shoot the ball. Lance Stevenson's not known as a 3-point shooter. Neither is Michael Beasley. And then the bottom 3 guys, Isaac Bonga, and then 2 European guys whose names I can't pronounce. But will never play. But I wonder so it would be Beasley, Stevenson, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and Kyle Kuzma. Of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, who will they put together to try to make a trade for somebody like a Bradley Beal or like a Jeremy? Well, I don't know if Jeremy Lamb's kind of one of these in between guys that just doesn't really have much of an effect on the overall outcome of a game necessarily, and that could just be because he's been with a lot of teams that don't matter in the NBA. Anything else from the Lakers? Damian Lillard played really good, and look at the Trailblazers stats here for a second. Lillard, 35 minutes, 28 points, 42% shooting, 8 for 8 from the free throw line, only 28.6% from 3. 4 assists, 3 turnovers isn't great, but he was their leading scorer. Nick Stauskas ended with 24, shot 62%, 5 of 8 from 3, 63. Nick Stauskas had a fucking great game last night. I wonder, part of that I doubt that's probably going to be his game high for the season. He's a Michigan guy, so I hope that's his game high for the season. CJ McCollum played 31 minutes, 21 points. 50% from 3 is good, 3 of 6. Shot well, 100% from the free throw line. Not a whole lot to talk about as far as Portland goes. I think that they'll be an 8 seed or a 6, 7, or 8 seed or maybe won't make the playoffs. They seem to always squeak their way into the playoffs and then generally lose in the first round unless Damian Lillard hits a game-winning 3. And was that game-winning 3 like in 2014, Game 7? I think it was. But other than that, they really just bounce in the first round pretty much. I could be wrong. Maybe something tells me they won a game last year, but maybe not. Anyways, all right, let's go to the Miami Heat Washington Wizards game. This game was really, it was fun to watch, and it was close all game. I think there were 18 or 19 different ties and like 20 some lead changes, or probably the same amount of lead changes as ties. I think Austin Rivers for the Wizards is a really good backup for John Wall, because the scoring won't really, for the, how many minutes did he play? Your scoring isn't gonna drop off too much with Rivers in the game. Come on, take me to the box score. John Wall played 35 minutes. Austin Rivers played 25 minutes. So in his 25 minutes, he shot 57% from the field. He got to the basket really well. 0 for 3 from 3, 2 assists. So the scoring production is good. He had 9 points. I guess that's not good, but it's, again, it's a first game, but I think he can really find a role as a scoring backup point guard that can also play with John Wall. I think he was in the game in a decent amount of the meaningful fourth quarter possessions. I could be just making that up though. Otto Porter Jr. only 9 points, 42% from the field, 11 rebounds though, and a couple pretty big shots down the stretch. Markieff Morris played pretty well. His ability to stretch the floor and rebound is good. He was 2 for 3 from 3. Bradley Beal had a pretty good game, but John Wall, there's something about John Wall that bothers me. There was a little like a jump ball situation where the Wizards' big man jumped on the floor, and Derrick Jones Jr., who played really well. I did not know about Derrick Jones Jr. really at all, and he is lanky. He's long. He can shoot the ball. I think he dunked on somebody. He made a really nice cut to the basket, and Dragic hit him with a pass kind of late, and he just gathered and went up with his left and dunked it. It almost looked kind of weird, but he kind of came out of nowhere. He played really well. What did he do? Derrick Jones Jr., 23 minutes, 17 points, 50% shooting, 1 of 2, 50% shooting from 3, 5 rebounds, no turnovers, 1 steal, no assists. He had a good game, though. I don't know how big this fella, Derrick Jones Jr., is. 6'7", 200 pounds. He's a little wiry. He could probably stand to put on 10 pounds. But going back to John Wall, so Derrick Jones Jr. was standing over the mix-up, kind of, and he just literally was standing there. And then John Wall runs in, and it was almost like a high school girl like getting in some stupid fight over a boyfriend in the playground in elementary school or or high school or whatever. Basically, he comes up and pushes him with his hand, like just one hand, just kind of like a flick of the wrist type of push on Derek Jones Jr.'s shoulder. And then people get in the way, blah, blah, blah. And then John Wall's fucking flexing and hitting his fist against his hand and just talking a whole bunch of shit. And like, dude, there's 5 people in front of you now. Like, I don't want people to fight, but I hate it when guys act like they want to fight, but they don't want to fight. Like, none of these guys are fighting. It's easy for me to say as I sit in my house with a fucking candle lit and I'm just sitting here talking by myself, but like, cause I'm not fighting. And I would, if I were in the NBA, I'm a fucking 6-foot white guy that weighs 165 pounds completely soaking wet. But it just really annoys me that these guys act like they want to fight. Like, I don't even understand why put the front on like you want to fight. I get that it's an adrenaline, testosterone driven sport, and that there's got to be some, all sport is like combat, essentially. It's like we started with wrestling and fucking UFC, essentially, and then we progressed and got more and more sophisticated, and we ended with basketball and a lot of these sports where there's soccer, where it's a lot of these finesse-driven sports that is in its rawest form. It's just adrenaline and testosterone and fury and people are throwing their bodies all over the place. But I just don't get why put the front on like you want to fight when you just had an opportunity to. You push the guy, and then 5 people stand in between you. And then you're hitting your fist around and acting like you want. It just annoys the shit out of me. I'm not a very big John Wall fan. I think he's a great player. I just don't like all the rah-rah, and he's constantly talking to people in the fans in the stands, and just it's a home game. It was a home game for them, so he makes a play and he flexes and he's talking shit to, like, he's not talking shit to the fans, but he's just saying stuff like, look at me, man, look at this fucking play I made. But when the playoffs come, he can't fucking win a game to save his life. He can't hit a mid-range jump shot past 18 feet. And like, it just bothers me. I don't know. Something really annoys me about John Wall. He's super explosive. But it just doesn't cut it. He just doesn't do it for me. But I digress. Do I have anything else about the NBA? I think 3 games like last night is a perfect amount of games for me to cover. Next episode, I've got a guest, Addison Dobb, my very first guest. Dobb is going to kind of serve as like my weekend correspondent, where we wrap up the week before's games, talk about the games that go on Friday and Saturday, and just kind of challenge me, elaborate on things that I've talked about throughout the week. So I'm excited to have Dobb on the podcast for the first time, and I think it's about time for me to go. Thank you for listening. We're almost right at 30 minutes. That's fucking perfect. I can do anything, and so can you.